and you voluntarily handed back a gold medal. Before we talk about why you did that and what you did, all these years later, how does it feel when I say MJ, 4-time Olympic gold medalist?
I'm used to it now, but so if you think about it, so I won the 5th of my 5 Olympic gold medals. That was the last one in Sydney, 4x400 meter relay. I retired after that. I retired a 5-time Olympic gold medalist. So I think I'm going to be a 5-time Olympic gold medalist for the rest of my life because I'm not going to win anymore because I'm retired. So I'm never going to be a 6-time Olympic gold medalist because I'm retiring. Never thought I would end up going backwards, right? That never even entered my mind. And so then it is, I believe, 6 or 7 years later, that Antonio Pettigrew, who was on the 4x400 meter relay with me in Sydney, had also retired. He was also retired, but admitted in a grand jury investigation into the Balco drug scandal that he had actually been cheating and using performance-enhancing drugs during that time. Had never tested positive, which tells you, just how intricate that process was then, where people were actually cheating and never even got caught, had retired from the sport. Had he not admitted it, no one would have ever known. And so when he admitted it, I was obviously very disappointed because I was associated with that relay as one of the four team members. And I was really pissed. I was really upset because we could, with all due respect to you, Jake, we could have won that relay with you on there. We didn't need Antonio on there. We could have run. We were so far ahead. We could have had anyone on there. He was on there and he was cheating. And so for that, I didn't. I had always been outspoken about doping in our sport, and still am, and just didn't want to have my name associated with that medal, and so I gave it back.
Hard decision.
It wasn't a hard decision. I gave it back knowing that, this is the right thing to do. I don't want to have anything to do with it. A little bit harder, I guess, in the sense that I knew that they were going to come after that medal, and I knew that the U.S. Olympic Committee was going to fight it, and they would have had a better chance fighting it if I was there, with them on that fight. And so when I chose not to go on that fight, that meant the other 2 relay members on there who probably wanted to fight it probably weren't going to have a very good chance at that point. But I didn't. It was not that hard for me. It was disappointing. I was very angry for a while because now I'm 4-time Olympic gold medalist, not a 5-time Olympic gold medalist through no fault of my own. I didn't know Antonio Pettigrew that well. We were competitors first because he was, for many years, the number 1 ranked 400-meter runner in the world, or number 2, rather, behind me, and we were sort of battling. He was world champion in 1991, and so we were always competing against one another. So, I didn't know him that well, but I thought I knew him well enough. I was a little bit surprised. I was very disappointed, and I was very angry about that. Mm-hmm. And then it even got sadder because he ended up taking his life. Which was just, it was just, the whole thing is just, it's bad. It's just, but it's one of those things where, doping in our sport is something that is always talked about. I think our sport does a much better job than most in policing and anti-doping, but our sport is more susceptible to it because there's such a low barrier to entry to get into the sport, and it's worth it for a lot of people who grow up in countries and situations where they don't have a lot, and this could be their ticket out. But I think that people often think that it's easy for people, to go and make that choice, and I think that his whole situation proves that it's not that easy, and it ended up, just devastating an entire family. And I don't think we talk enough about that.
And that is particularly difficult. I've got family experience of suicide, and it leaves a very strange emotion, doesn't it, in everyone connected to the whole thing.
Did you know that less than half of Brits eat breakfast every day of the week? I mean, that's amazing, but why? Well, it's because we're all time poor, especially in the mornings, so we compromise. My fix is Huel's nutritionally complete high-protein shake, a complete meal in a bottle that slots perfectly into my life. Head to the link in the description for a free t-shirt on your first order with Huel. How can you resist that?
Yeah, I'm sure. I've never experienced that with anyone close to me or in my family, but I can imagine. And I know, being connected to, I know that, Antonio had a wife and a young son at the time. And, and it's, I think about my own family, if that were me, if I had made that choice, in my life. And, yeah, everyone's proud of you, and what you've accomplished, and you're representing your country. And then for it to all, you're carrying this secret, and that's got to be difficult. It's got to be really hard. And then they find out that, this thing that they were so proud of wasn't really real, and that it was, as a result of cheating. That's one thing. And then, for him to feel, for whatever reason, to take his own life, I'm sure that was very difficult again for that family, just, and having to live with that and deal with that, that's got to be devastating.
And what have you learned about the people around you, how to pick the right people?
I think for me, I was really fortunate having, parents, and I come from a large family. There's 5 of us, and I'm the youngest, and so I always had the support of my brother and my sisters and my parents, and so I looked for people. It was just kind of automatic for me to look for people like them. So my coach and my dad are very similar people.
In what way?
Very, high standards around excellence, but also, very understanding, and also, sort of, they both have that ability to sort of allow you to go out there and make the mistakes. Like my dad was very much a, sort of disciplinarian from a sort of military background, but, at the same time, it's always like, I'm going to give you, the ability to go out there and make your own mistakes. I'm going to trust you until you show me that you can't be trusted. And that was, for me as a young kid growing up was very sort of liberating and like, oh, he trusts me.
Can you give us an example of when he would do that?
Like I didn't have, like when I was growing up and like other kids had, like curfew, I didn't have one, My dad was like, you know what to do, when you should be here, and kind of like, and gave me just all sorts of freedoms of, who I wanted to hang out with and trusted that I could, take care of myself and that I would, he set the standard, absolutely, like this is what I expect. And if you disappoint me, there's going to be a little bit of hell to pay, and it was a very effective strategy. I didn't want to, suffer that wrath for one thing. But I think he was very sort of crafty in the way of, I'm going to set this standard where you don't want to disappoint me. And I didn't want to disappoint my dad.